I am with John Story from IHS Markit. There's been a lot of talk about creating a favorable environment for investors and operators to come into Africa, and the regulatory environment is a major challenge that we all have. What do you think governments can do just to make it, in general? I know it's a general question because we have many countries in Africa, but what do you think that African governments can do in order to make their regulatory environments in the oil and gas industry more favorable to operators?
I think the two words that came out of the last session again and again were consistency and transparency. I think investors, there's always competition for capital. A lot of that capital is going into the unconventional arena in the US. If Africa is to compete, it needs to show investors that they're going to put their money in and they're going to get more money than they put in out, and it's going to be safe. So I think the more transparent the legislation is, the longer the track record of investors doing well in Africa, the better. You're not going to get your money back as quickly as you are in shale, but you're going to probably get more. It's sort of rates of return are bigger in the US, but the NPVs are bigger in Africa.
You made another mention of transparency, which is another major issue that the industry faces. You turn on the television, you see media reports of issues of governance, corruption in Africa. Do you get a sense that perhaps investors are starting to be put off, or operators are starting to be put off at all by the continent?
I actually think it's kind of the opposite. I think that's kind of always been there a little bit. I think the reason why investments dried up a bit is purely because the oil price dropped, and people were battening down the hatches. There were a lot of people were being made redundant. Companies were shrinking, failing. I think now we've got a steady oil price around about 60-ish, and investment is coming back. Where should I put my money? Where are the big reserves to be discovered? And Africa is probably the place in the world to find big resource.
And speaking of the oil price, I know you mentioned that we are seeing some stability, but do you have any concerns in regards to your outlook for oil price, especially given the competition from shale and the increase we're seeing in U.S. production?
I think so. Shale, it's a matter of physics. It can't go on forever. I think the world's population continues to grow, economies continue to grow. That means that in 30 years' time, the primary ingredients for the energy mix are still going to be oil and gas. Renewables, it's growing very quickly, but from a very small base. So I think for the rest of my career, I'm quite comfortable that the oil and gas industry will survive.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you so much. Thank you.